somebody once said about the Jeremy Kyle show, can you imagine nowadays the controls would be even stronger? We did 15 years and 4,000 episodes, right? And Ofcom is pretty hard. And I never had an Ofcom complaint, right? But one thing I would say, and I've always said, does anybody actually seriously police social media? You think of all what you've just said and how people connect the abuse, the trolling, the bullying that goes on a daily basis. I've always as well quite outspoken about high-tech companies. They take, I don't think, as much responsibility at all as they need to. Kids doing things that are terrible and people following and becoming involved in stuff. Social media, I know we're doing this, but social media is
But do you want more controls? Who would be in charge of that? That's the problem with that.
Listen, we can't even control our borders. How would we control social media? Because then, of course, you're going to get into... I get it. You get into the free speech and all that. What I'm talking about is there are bad people in all parts of life, aren't there? And for me, you have to weed them out. Whatever. But everybody gets distracted on where they come from or the language that they speak or the colour of their skin. For me, there's a thing right and wrong. That's it.
Piers Morgan recently said... I mean, he was accused... Every time.
Shall I do it? No, shall I tell you?
You mentioned him before.
Shall I tell you? The best friend a man could have.
Piers Morgan.
Yeah. And when I needed, the first call that day when I lost my job, and an amazing, amazing man. And very much like you wouldn't think that, but brilliantly. Brilliant.
I'm not, it doesn't surprise me.
He paid me to say that.
He's just off camera.
Of course he is.
He recently was people criticizing him and saying, you're basically Jerry Springer. And he said, well, he was a friend of mine. I like Jerry Springer. What's wrong with that? I wonder
bad shoes.
Did he have bad shoes?
Yeah, I replaced him in England. Real lovely guy. Bad shoes, though.
What kind of shoes?
Just like shitty trainers with a suit. I'm just being honest, but lovely, lovely man. Piers is right, lovely man. Lovely man.
I wonder if there's kind of a human need, as much as we don't want to admit it, for a kind of gladiatorial setting. The Romans obviously did that with and then there was watching public lynchings and things, or hangings and things like that. It's like, we need to do it. And maybe the Jeremy Kyle show, Jerry Springer show, Piers Morgan sort of fulfill that need. And if we don't have that, everybody starts really cancelling each other on Twitter, on social media.
But what does that mean, right? So what does cancelling... So listen, I got cancelled and that's fine. Okay, the world has changed. That's a bygone era. I think that's how it's viewed. I get that. Yeah. Okay, it seems nowadays if you have an opinion amongst all the beige, you're labelled. If you've been through what Piers and I have been through, right? He was called every name of the sun after the GMB thing. Then actually, you probably are a little bit stronger. I've said to many people, many of whom I won't mention here, famous people, why'd you... If you can't take that, get out the kitchen and go and do a 9-to-5 job. Somebody, if you lined up 100 people in the room, Andrew, 50 are going to say, I have had this for 20 years. He should run the country. And 50 are going to say, piece of shit should be in jail. Horrible human being. It's Marmite. It's black and white. If you've got an opinion, Piers is another example. You'd be pretty naive to go, I think everybody's going to love me. I take that back to politics. That's why Farage at this moment is garnering support, because he doesn't give a toss about the people that disagree with him. Look at Trump. And a majority of people say we want that, then you're going to do it. The thing about those sorts of shows, not just the Jeremy Kyle show, which would always be criticised because the best line I ever heard about the Jeremy Kyle show was it shone a light on a part of society that many people felt very uncomfortable in the middle classes. But actually these people were as cool. They go, was that all right? They would say it was, honestly, 37,000 people over 15 years, right? But you're also saying to people, I don't think you should watch that. I don't think... So the day the Jeremy Kyle show finished, for very good reason, obviously, where's that audience gone then? Because it's never come back. Since Piers left GMB, where's that audience gone? It's never come back. It's got 4 million people on Piers Morgan.
So it's the liberal elite saying, we know what's best for you. And the other thing was we all watched it. So everyone was criticising it. I was watching your show. I was a teenager. Everyone at university was watching that. Just between...
The drinking game I never knew anything about.
What's that?
Well, apparently they used to have a drinking game that every time I came up with a phrase, you'd have to, not that I'm condoning drinking, you'd have to have a shot. So by 10 o'clock, most students, if I'd say get off my stage and my name's on the wall, were absolutely pissed up by about 10 o'clock. Not my fault, before anybody blames me. I always found it quite... I think, look, a bygone era is the best way to describe Kyle, but it was very real, it was very raw, it was very honest, it was very direct. And hold on a second, people... watched it in their millions for whatever reasons, and ITV played it 7 times a day, and that was the way it is. You would be pretty naive for all the critics to think that something would last that long. It's had the most up-to-date aftercare that any show had ever had in the history of listen, massive amounts. We put over 7,000 people into detox and rehab over 15 years, right? We must have found out how many people whose fathers, I don't even know the numbers. I get it, though. They go, oh, he just told somebody. Think about X Factor. 20 years ago, Simon would go, sorry, you can't sing. Oh my God, I'm suffering. So what do you want? You can't. So either we're going to be honest or we're just going to fluff. And I think we've gone to, and we're in the middle of this fluff. But I think people are going, do you know what? Why can't you just say if this is shit? Really? Yeah. I'm being honest. Why are we mollycoddling people? My argument about the Kyle show is that the elite decided that working class people couldn't take the truth. That's that. But you'd watch. I mean, somebody said to me, Love Island's still on, isn't it? So if you've got a six-pack and perfect teeth, that's okay. No, that's a bad judgment. What you're saying then is you're saying to people from a certain demographic,
if you're beautiful,
we don't think you. Well, are you strong enough? Yeah, I am strong. Honestly, again, I think that we've become a society full of, and there are many people who have really good hearts who care about issues, and I think that's brilliant. But you also get the feeling, don't you, that nowadays the activists, as I call them, have jumped on board. Whether it's Just Stop Oil. I still don't know what Just Stop Oil stands for.
Stop Oil.
It was never happened during the holidays because they were all in Mallorca at their parents' villas, right? It's like the student lot. I get it. They jump up and down. They wear their T-shirts for Gaza and for Ukraine. I get all of that. Mm-hmm. But then they go home. I just feel like we've lost. People seem to attach themselves to things. That's not disrespecting the people who genuinely care. But sometimes I feel like saying we've become a little bit soft-bellied and we don't. Mm-hmm. I think people don't mind the truth. Mm. But then they go, well, yeah, you used to tell people the truth and people would get upset. Well, they watched it for 15 years. What do you want? What am I going to say to you? Can you give me an opinion? You sure you're all right with this? Yes, I will do that. Oh, I can't. Why did you tell me that? Because you asked me to.
I mean, that's a reasonable defence of the Jeremy Kyle show.
Well, it's not about defending it.
But you've had to because people have attacked, haven't they?
But listen, I go back to what I said. I'd be pretty naive to think people wouldn't. The only reason that I would defend it was the amazing people that worked on it, the people that we helped, the fact it was for 15 years and basically had more safety and ironically than almost any other show. But yes, it didn't end in the right way, and you could look at it and you could say that was, a sign of the times. I get that.
What about, I mean, if the Jeremy Kyle show went on the Jeremy Kyle show and you had to sort of judge it, meta. What were some of the things that you would maybe look at and go, you know what, we could have done that different. That wasn't quite right.
See, that's a really great question, but then that's hindsight, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
would go back and change loads of things about the beginning of my show.
Well, so the reason, and this is not a cop out. I used to do 5 a day.
Yeah.
And people would say to me, how was the first show this morning? And not because I'm 60 now, I wouldn't even know by 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I've got the same thing.
And I do that. I learned that a long time ago on the radio. I think it's difficult to say how would you change stuff. If you were putting the Jeremy Kyle show today, I'm sure the Liberals wouldn't accept me saying, really, get off your ass and get a job, right? They go, I mean, poor man's got, fine, okay. So that's why that wouldn't work. Well, my point is this. If you look at here and now, I'm not saying that people crave, but how does Piers build what Piers has built? I have him as the most loyal friend I've got, right? But people will say, oh, Piers Morgan, I mean, he's really in your face. And if you don't want it, turn it off. Yeah. But it's interesting when you're on YouTube like this, he's got 4 million subscribers. Daytime on ITV hasn't got 4 million subscribers, has it, anymore? That's me being honest. That's no disrespect to ITV. They might have an eighth of that audience.
I respect that Piers gets it from both sides. He actually puts,
he does.
He gets told he's anti-Semitic every day and he's anti-Gaza every day. And I think, well, you know what? Fine. I'm not going to agree. I probably agree with half of what he says because I'm
very intelligent man, not that good at golf, whatever he tells you. But I think Piers, you sort of develop a skin. And I think he was much better at it than I was. I was probably naive. I was doing this show for 15 years. It went to America. It was number one. It was a juggernaut.
91% watching Heretics clips are not subscribed. Quick favour, hit subscribe. Free, takes 2 seconds and helps us question everything together.